Are you ready to take your business to the top? Well, strap in and hold on tight. You're listening to the Top of the Wall podcast from Red Wall Marketing. Business and marketing strategies to lift you above the competition and over the wall of mediocrity. Now, here's your host, J.R. Griggs.
Hey, it's JR here with Red Wall Marketing, and today's podcast is going to be sort of a conversational episode, if you will, just about business in general and some observations as I just returned from a trip to Canada. I was up there about three weeks. It was about a month total in travel time. As it took about 3 days to get there. It was, we had obviously my wife and the 3 kids, and so we actually opted to drive. My wife wanted to see just see the East Coast through driving, basically, as she's always loved long drives, and we've done some RVing a little bit, and so she kind of missed that, and so it just worked out better financially, realistically, whatever, to drive rather than fly and deal with all that. And so we packed all 3 kids into the car and drove up there. And so it was, an interesting trip to get a chance to see my wife's family where she was born. She hasn't been up there since she was about 7 years old. So it was a lot of fun to get up there and meet some of her family and see where she was born, and the kids had a blast. And driving up there was fun. It had its moments. I mean, we have a 2-year-old, so it had its moments where we weren't sure if we were going to survive or how we ever going to get there. We have to keep pulling over. It was interesting. What we did was every time we pulled over, we tried to find a place that had the biggest area where he could just run. And we just let him run. Just let the kids chase him and play tag or whatever. Just get out and let him, tire himself out running. And that seemed to be the trick with helping him, get the most out of his moments out of the vehicle. So it took about 3 8-hour days of driving, roughly. I mean, lots of stops in there. And we stayed in hotels, a couple nights. But, it was interesting just traveling and seeing the different styles in business as you go through town, and the different ways that businesses operate, and just state to state, and of course in Canada, and I talked about in one of the recent episodes about small town type marketing and how the coffee shop I was at but by the way, if you're ever in Cowansville and want to check it out, it's called the Rendezvous Cafe is the name of the coffee shop. But small town marketing and how to build a small town business and how it differs from big city business and how you operate. There is that big difference in how you can market and how you deal with your customers. And so that is a valid issue to be aware of with your location, as we talked about in that podcast. And then there's also just this general concept of, just doing business right. I put a lot of emphasis in marketing, and it's not uncommon to hear me talk about how it doesn't matter how good your product or business is. If you can't market it or sell it, it's not going to do any good. Nobody's going to know about it. And that's very true. And then there are some exceptions to that. There are some businesses that never market, and they're just flooded with business. They don't need to advertise. They don't need to market. They're just packed with customers because of how good they do business. Well, that's a form of marketing as well. If you've listened to the podcast or heard me ever talk about how marketing is everything, you'll know that running your business the right way is part of your marketing. And sometimes it is possible that could be the only marketing you need. It's not going to be every time, but there are businesses that simply live off their reputation. They thrive off of how good they do business. They don't need to advertise because their customers are constantly advertising them. They're constantly being interviewed in magazines or news or whatever because of how great they are at their business. So there is some truth to that you can run a business extremely well and not need to advertise. But the thing is, it doesn't matter if that's you or your location, small city, big city, off a highway, on a highway, out of town, whatever. You need to run your business right. You just need to do things right. You need to, keep it clean, keep it friendly, just do things the right way. And, nothing's, I don't want to say nothing, but there's one of the best ways to really see this in action is just travel a little bit and stop in the different businesses and get out of your comfort, basically. Get out of your local area, because you do business with certain businesses right now in your local area based on experiences or who you know or convenience or whatever. Well, get out of that. Like, go out of state, travel. Many of you travel for business already. I mean, I've been to several, areas that have shocked me in my travels for business, and several areas that were just amazing. And, as you travel, you're looking for a few things. I don't know where I'm going to eat unless you go to a chain. Where are you going to eat? Where are you going to stay? What place are you going to get a coffee at? And again, unless you're sticking to just chains, you don't know what to expect. And even with chains, by the way, you don't really know what to expect. You don't know if this particular McDonald's you get a coffee at is going to be clean or dirty. You don't know if this particular Starbucks is going to be the same as the one near you, or is this hotel going to be the same as the one near you. So when you get out of your element and you travel, you start to notice things. And back a while ago, there's a video I put out there. I think this was actually about a year ago, actually, a little bit more than a year ago, sorry, where I was in Texas for some business meetings, and I talked to my son, who my wife had called, and my son wanted to talk to me. He was 11 at the time, or 10 maybe at the time, and had asked me what I was doing, and I mentioned that I was writing up some stuff for work and watching a movie in the background, and he made the comment, they have TVs in Texas, and I said, of course they have TVs in Texas. What did you think Texas was? And he said he thought Texas was a lot of cowboys and farms, and just he's thinking Wild Wild West stuff because he hadn't been to Texas, even though he's done studies on it. It's just typically what you see, and I remember just laughing and thinking about how Texas is obviously no different than anywhere else. It's maybe got a little bit of an accent, but for the most part, it's the same as Florida. And businesses are the same, and in Texas as they are in Florida. There's barbecue places and other things like that, but businesses run just the same. And there's this misconception that business owners have about how your business is different or your customers are different. And the fact is, they're all the same. They all want the same thing. Okay. Whether you're in Florida or Texas, people are going to be the same. They're going to respond to certain things the same. They're going to respond to a clean business and a clean bathroom and a friendly greeting the same as they do in any state. It doesn't matter, right? So your business needs to be running at its prime at all times, because your customers are the same no matter where they are. So it doesn't matter what business your state is in. Your customers are looking for a friendly greeting, a clean location, fast service, or whatever it is you specialize in. Again, if you're a sit-down, slow type of restaurant, then that's what they're looking for. Don't rush them out. But your customers are the same no matter where you are. And if you do a lot of traveling, pay attention to the decisions you make and the experiences you have with hotels or restaurants or coffee shops or whatever it is. Pay attention to that experience, because you're going to notice that you start to favor certain things. You're looking for certain things, okay? And that's a big deal, because that should teach you what your customers are looking for. We left here, and I remember at certain places I'd stop. There was just a certain feeling of just, you could almost tell where you were. Even though you didn't know where you were, you could tell if it was a safe neighborhood or not based on the way the gas station looked. And for instance, one stop, I can't remember what time it was, probably 4 or 5. I think it was 4 in the morning, actually, because I remember I drove the first night. We left at night. We followed some advice to drive overnight, let the kids sleep. Well, that didn't work out too well. The kids slept, but my wife was miserable, and so was the baby. He doesn't like sleeping in a car seat. So that didn't really work out well. But I remember the first coffee I got was like 4 in the morning. I made it that far without needing coffee. And the place I stopped, immediately on the door, was a sign that said, the gas station didn't look, by the way, too clean or anything, but a sign that said, no hoodies allowed. And I'm thinking, they don't allow hoodies in the store. So there's a sign saying that if you're wearing a hoodie, you can't go in the store. So now I'm assuming they've had problems with people wearing hoodies in the store, maybe because it's got the pockets that you can steal easily. I don't know. But they had a sign specifically saying no hoodies. And I just brushed it off, and I go in, and I get my coffee. And as I'm paying, there's a box of DVDs being sold in little covers, like the little sheets, the little paper sheets. And the first movie there is The Expendables 3, which is still in movie theaters. So here's this gas station that must be having some crime problem with people wearing hoodies, because they don't want hoodies in the store. Maybe it's a bad area. I don't know. It's right off the highway. I just saw a sign. I don't know where I'm at. So I stop in. Again, the place wasn't dirty, but it wasn't the cleanest gas station, but it wasn't bad. But right off the bat, I'm being greeted with a sign that says no hoodies. So if I was traveling wearing one because it was cold, that would have been awkward. And at the front counter, there's a box of bootleg DVDs being sold. Now, I don't know who owns this place, if the owner was the guy I was dealing with at that moment, or if this was his son, or if this was just some employee. But here's a business trying to stop illegal activity, I'm assuming, because of the sign about the hoodies, but it's also selling illegal DVDs. And maybe the owner doesn't know this, but think about what this business is portraying and what it's attracting. I mean, think about how this gas station is being perceived by me, who knows nothing. This isn't a favorite gas station of mine. I didn't go there because I know the prices are particularly low, or that the coffee's great there, or that the service is friendly. I don't know anything about this place. I stopped in because it was a sign that said there was gas, and I knew I could get a coffee. And I had to get gas. So I got my gas, I got my coffee, and I leave, and I'm left with this experience of like, wow, they're selling illegal movies. They don't allow people with hoodies. I don't know if I ever want to go back to that place again. So my perception of that place was immediately formed. I don't know it. And as an outsider, I have a different view than people that maybe live nearby there. Maybe certain people that live by there like that place because they know they can get movies there, or because it's convenient, or maybe they have good coffee. It wasn't horrible, I don't think. I don't remember. It was 4 a.m. I just needed some caffeine. The place, I didn't feel uncomfortable or unsafe, but then again, it was only 4 a.m. There was like nobody there. I think I was literally the only person shopping there. But it's interesting how people perceive your business when they've never been there. Later on down the road, as we drive, I stopped at other places. I can tell you this, I tended to try to stop at Pilot or Love's because we know them. We know those are locations that have everything you need as a traveler, so we did stop at those a lot because we knew what to expect. We knew they were going to be clean and friendly, so that we typically looked for those. But when we pulled over and there wasn't a truck stop we knew, or a travel center we knew, we did tend to look at the one that had the cleanest appearance. Which one had the brightest lights? Which one looked clean? Which one had the nicest looking building on the outside? That seemed to be an indicator to us that we were going to find a cleaner bathroom for the kids. We were going to find better tasting coffee, less likely to be contaminated coffee. We felt like we were going to find friendlier service. So, think about that when you're traveling. What do you look for when you pull over and see a truck stop or a gas station to get coffee? What do you look for when you're by yourself versus being with, your wife or kids, or your husband or kids, or a friend? What do you look for? Really think about that. What makes you choose a business that you've never heard of before? You're in an area you don't know. That's a great eye-opener as to literally what your customers who don't know you are thinking. We had gas stations we went into that was like, oh my gosh, this place was crappy. And gas stations we went to was like, oh wow, that was really nice. There was a BP we stopped at, I remember, that I just remember as I'm filling up my coffee, I'm thinking, if it wasn't for the sake of time, I wouldn't be getting coffee here. It just really was bad, just the experience. The gas was higher than anything we had seen in the area. But again, convenience and just getting back on the road, we got gas there. I got my coffee there in this horrible styrofoam cup with these horrible lids. And It just was a place that, like, we would avoid that place if we knew it was there again. If I got off at that exit again, I'd try a different, gas station in the area. But we made decisions based on the way places looked. We solidified our opinions based on the service and how it looked inside and based on how things went. That solidified whether we would ever go back there again. Imagine if we were just moving to the area and stopped in, right? I mean, that would make a huge change on how we ever viewed that business again or whether we would ever be back again. And this is what your current market's doing. You have people moving into town. You have people passing through, people who may be traveling to work that pass that way all the time. If you're a service industry or whatever, you need to think about that. If you're a retail location, a gas station, a restaurant, a coffee shop, or whatever might be, visited, people are, they're making these impressions. Does your business meet the standards that you hold or that your best customer would hold if they were traveling to the area for the first time and choosing to do business with you or choosing to do business with you again if they were ever in the area? That's a big question. Does your business live up to that standard? And, like I said, traveling's a good way to think about that. It's a good way to get out of your comfort zone and think, what do I look for? As we traveled through, we made opinions about gas stations and coffee shops and other places based on just the outside appearance, number one. Did it look clean as we drove by? And how did we feel when we left? We traveling up there, I'm trying to think of the first hotel we stayed at. My wife wasn't too thrilled with the first hotel we stayed at. It was up in Maryland. It really wasn't bad. The room was clean, but I gotta tell you, the hallways were really dirty. It was like stuff on the wall, and you don't have a chance to inspect a hotel before you get your room. You could, if you really wanted to, you could. But it was, we got off at an exit, we looked around, we saw what we saw, we looked up some reviews real quick, we picked one we were comfortable with, and in the budget we were looking to spend for the trip, and we stayed there. And the room was clean, I have to say the room was clean, so can't complain too much there, but my wife was kind of concerned about it because of the appearance a little bit on the outside, but we ended up staying there and it turned out to be nice. But when I mentioned that we should stop by there again on the route home, she didn't want to. So she was not, even though the inside of the room was clean, the outside appearance ended up bugging her so much that she didn't want to go back. So that's saying something. That's an indicator right there. Now, again, if it was just me, it's a little different. It's different when it's just me versus with my wife and kids. My cost for a hotel room goes up drastically when I have the wife and kids with me because I'm not as picky. I've stayed at places that weren't the greatest and just didn't care. I'm there to sleep and leave. In fact, on the way back we saw a Motel 6. We got off at an exit. We were driving. It was late. We were trying to make up time. Got off at an exit. There was like 3 hotel choices. We didn't really like either. The Motel 6 actually didn't look bad from the road, and I was like, well, let's stay there. And I look it up, and it was only like $50, I think, for a room, $58 for a room, and my wife immediately says, I don't want to stay there. At that price, it's going to be crappy. And I was like, well, maybe it's not. Maybe it's just the area. Maybe just this area doesn't warrant high prices. So we drive around the building, and I think it was like a mattress leaning against the wall in the back, and just some of the lights were out, and she just immediately was like, nope, we're not staying here. They didn't even have a chance to earn our business just from the way the outside looked. And I said, okay, let's just keep driving. So we kept driving and eventually saw a sign for a Comfort Suites, and it said free breakfast, which was something we looked for every time because we could wake up, go eat breakfast, and then leave. And it was kind of nice. You didn't have to make a second stop or figure out what you were going to eat. So we were always looking for the free breakfast. And obviously knowing that's included in the price of the room, they're more expensive, but it was just convenience, So we see a Comfort Suite sign at an exit, and I decide, okay, we know Comfort Suites is generally good. Let's pull over and check it out. So we pull over, and she's looking up reviews on Google, and again, that was a big deciding factor. Every time we looked up the reviews, every single time. By the way, very important here, We looked up reviews. We did not stay at a single hotel without going and thoroughly scrutinizing the reviews for that hotel, okay? So it is very important for you to be using the review systems available to you with Yelp and with Google, primarily Google, because that's probably what people are looking you up on, and that's what we were using. So we looked it up. The Comfort Suites had decent reviews. As we got off on the exit, we couldn't see the Comfort Suites, but we did see a Best Western. And as we were looking at the map, we looked at the Best Western, and again, we had stayed at Best Westerns before. We knew they could be hit or miss. It depended. The reviews were glowing, like 4 stars. Everybody was happy. Cleanest place, friendliest staff. Oh my gosh, this place is amazing. Still couldn't find the Comfort Suites. It was hidden off the road, and they didn't have very good signs to where it was. So we eventually ended up settling on the Best Western, which was $10 less, by the way, and had amazing reviews, better reviews than the Comfort Suites. We get in there, staff was extremely friendly. We get up and she's, talking to us about our trip and helping we have a good night and a safe trip, and really friendly, really clean. Get to our room, exceptionally clean, probably the nicest we had stayed in of the 3, just the one my wife was the most happy with. We had breakfast in the morning. It's a continental breakfast. You're not expecting gourmet food here, but we ate. We leave. By the way, what I love about those continental breakfasts is when they have the waffle machine, because we don't eat waffles a lot because we try to avoid white bread as often as possible. But I will tear up some fresh made waffles in a waffle maker like no one's business. But as we left, my wife says to me, "We need to write this place down for next time, because we already plan on making the same trip next year. We need to write this place down and stay here again." That's how happy she was with the place. We need to stay here again. Let's write this place down. Don't forget this exit. Don't forget this hotel. I want to stay here again next year. She's already telling me that we need to make sure we stay at that one. Okay? She doesn't want to take any chances. Even though it was about an hour north of where we would need to be on the way back to make an 8-hour trip, she didn't want to take any chances. That's where we have to stay next year. That's the impression she got. Why? Friendly service, clean place. They just did business right. That was it. The only thing they needed to do was do business right. They didn't even need to advertise, because it was a different hotel that brought us there. It was the Comfort Suites that advertised and spent money for the billboard. But because they were hidden off the road and we couldn't find them, and the Best Western had better reviews for $10 less, we stayed there. I don't even know if the Comfort Suites was that good. I'm assuming it is. I've had good experience with them before. But man, they didn't even have to advertise. They just had to do business right. Okay? They had good location. They're off the highway. They did business right. The hotel is clean. The breakfast was good. The lobby was clean. The hotel staff was super friendly. That's all it took. That's all it took to earn our business and earn it again next year already, and to get a recommendation. Best Western earns a recommendation on this podcast because they did business right. That was the big factor with hotels. So when you travel next, what's going to be the big factor for you? Now, if it was me, I might have stayed at I'm going to be honest, I might have stayed at the Motel 6. I don't care. Yes, it was a nice hotel, and I liked the experience and all, but I'm also the type that's like, look, I just need to sleep and get back on the road in the morning. Do you have a clean bed? If you have a clean bed, I'm good. Okay? My wife's more like, no. The room needs to be clean. The toilets need to be very clean. The whole place needs to be clean. I don't want to see any dirt at all, because if I see a simple smudge in the hallway, it means my bed is infested. That's the way my wife thinks about it. And it's probably good. I would have stayed at the Motel 6. It's good that she, keeps my standards higher, I guess. But that's how it worked. So when you travel, think about that. Think about what makes you stay at a hotel. You're probably looking at reviews just like I am. So don't buck against the trend of reviews, because I talk to too many business owners that hate reviews. They hate the new system of how easily people can write things about your business. Don't. Embrace it and do good business, because that could be the key to your survival going forward right now, because it's the key to many businesses. They're looking at reviews. Your customers are looking at reviews and making their decisions based on that. And that's exactly what we did. When it came to staying at a hotel, Proximity to where we were at or where we were going to be at that time was a key factor, and your reviews. And photos, by the way. If the hotel didn't have photos, I didn't consider it really. It had to have photos on Google Maps. Okay? I looked through the photos to see what the room looked like. I showed my wife what it looked like. Those were factors. Big factors. Okay? So with any business, again, the same might go true for restaurants. We didn't really do that when it came time to eat. We were more like within the hour window of us getting hungry for lunch or dinner, we decided where we were going to eat. Breakfast, obviously, each hotel we stayed at, each hotel we stayed at had breakfast, so that didn't matter. Lunch, around noon, 1 o'clock, started to get hungry. Whatever was coming up, we'd look for signs. We'd see something that we liked. We'd pull over and we'd eat generally. Okay, so that wasn't as big of a deal. But others who may be looking for a better meal or looking at a restaurant probably would have been looking up food and looking up restaurants. Dinner, we got whatever was nearby the hotel. We'd look around to see what was nearby the hotel, and then we'd eat. But again, we were sticking mostly with chains that we knew. I don't think we ate at any places that weren't a chain. We tend to stick with what we knew when we stopped for dinner or lunch. So that's a important factor. And honestly, if there was another place that had reviews, we might have stayed there. But those were big deals. So as we traveled, we looked for cleanliness, we looked for good reviews, we looked for well-lit, secure-looking places. That's what we looked for. So in your business, whether you're on a highway and travel or not, how do you look? When people are driving down the road, does your gas station look like it's the type that's going to sell bootleg DVDs and have a sign that says no hoodies? Or does it look like the kind of place that a mom's going to say, hey, that place probably has a clean bathroom, let's stop there? Because guess what? There's a lot of moms and dads who don't want their kids going to a bathroom that, looks like they're going to come home with a disease. So the outside of your building and the way it's set up is what's giving us the impression of how your bathroom looks. And a bathroom is very important when you're traveling, and a clean one is very important. And there's a lot of business you could be losing just on the appearance. And again, not just on a highway, just down the street, going down the street, going to a friend's house, got to stop, go to the bathroom. Well, which one are you going to stop at? The clean-looking place. That matters. Just do business right in so many scenarios, and it's going to make the difference in success or failure. Just do business right. Clean the place. Have a friendly staff. Provide a good service. And, you can thrive. I talk a lot about the shows like Restaurant Impossible, Kitchen Nightmare, Hotel Impossible, Bar Rescue. Some of these places, not often do you see them go in and pick apart their marketing. But what you will pick apart is the cleanliness of the place, how it looks, how it's decorated, how it's organized, how well the staff is, how well they know their menus, how friendly they are. Are they smiling? Is their uniform clean? Is the place well lit? Can you find it? Can you see the sign? A lot of times it's just doing business right. You don't watch those shows. They don't go in and tear apart their Yellow Page ad or their billboard or whatever other advertising they're doing. Those are big factors. But they'll go in and these businesses are generally failing because they just aren't running a proper business. They're just not clean. They're just not friendly. Those are big issues to consider. And again, whether it was the U.S. or Canada, Canada, I've talked about the coffee shop we had. We visited a lot. That was, again, very friendly, and that's why I continued to go there. I continued to work from there, get coffee from there, get food from there. We trusted the place, the town. They seemed to know everybody in town. That was a big deal. The other places we visited were simply because they looked kind of cool. They looked great from the outside, or we heard good things about them. That was a lot of up there. It was a lot of word of mouth stuff. It was, you got to try this place. We tried a Chinese restaurant, which happened to be owned by the same people that own the coffee shop, but we kept hearing these rave reviews about the dumplings. Got to go there and try the dumplings. So we went there. The whole town was talking about it. Everybody seemed to be talking about it. So we went there and ate. Those are all factors in how you're getting business outside of your marketing efforts. Okay? Everything we're talking about here is really outside of your marketing efforts because it's just doing business right. It's just running a proper business and making sure that your customers are happy, that new people are seeing, people that have never been there are seeing it and going, wow, that's the kind of place I want to eat, stay, sleep, do business with, be my plumber, whatever. Just doing business right. So I hope that, this as it was for me, just again, as every time I travel, it's always an eye-opener for me. Every state I go to, I'm looking at the decisions I make. Why am I stopping here? Why am I okay with this business? What are they doing different? I'm always looking for those things. So I want to encourage you to do that yourself. When you're traveling, start to jot down why you did the business with certain places. What changed your mind about a certain place? Why did you stop at a certain place, stay at a certain place, eat at a certain place? What was your experience? Why would you go back? Why would you never go back? And then start applying those things to your business, because that's how your customers are thinking. That's how it works. And sometimes we're so busy working on our businesses, we're not seeing those things. We're not paying attention anymore. And that's just so critical to do. So next time you're out traveling, hopefully you were able to learn from my experience here as we took this trip and just the things that, a month is a long time. That's actually the longest I've ever been on a trip. The longest we've ever gone anywhere. Usually it's a couple weeks at the top, at the max. I mean, it's a week or two. I think the last big trip we did the RV thing. We were like 10 states in 2 weeks or something like that. It was pretty intense. And that was, again, another eye opener. Where did we stay? Where did we stop? What did we like about the businesses? So pay attention to those things. They're important. They should be lessons for you, life lessons. So hopefully you learn from that, from my experiences through my eyes, how we did business in all the states from here to Canada and in Canada. And again, the number one factor, very important, was just do business right. That's it. That was a big deal, because all the marketing in the world is not going to save your business if nobody ever wants to go back. Okay? It's just not going to happen. Do business right, take care of your customers, do the right thing, run a clean business, an efficient business, a friendly business, take care of your customers. They will come back. They will tell people about you. They will leave good reviews. They will see you from the highway and say, wow, that place looks clean. It does work. It's not the only way to grow your business, of course, but it works, and it gets people talking about you. Build something exciting. Build something remarkable. Build something that makes your customer happy, talks about you, attracts them, and I promise you, your business is going to grow. Take that for what you can this week, and get out there and travel. Start looking at businesses. Get out of your area, get out of your local comfort zone, and see what makes you do business with people. I think you're going to find the same common denominator. It's the businesses that do things right that are earning your money. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening to the Top of the Wall podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of the great episodes coming up for you. For more resources and tools to take your business to the top, visit redwallmarketing.com.